So we'll get organised for a little bit of pranayama as we settle in. I don't mind whether or not you sit or you lie for pranayama. It's whatever feels most comfortable for you. For some people, sitting, they sit all day, so in a chair, so just to be able to lie down is restful. Wherever it is though, we just need to make sure that we feel comfortable and that we're not restless. So if you're sitting, oh, it's hurting my hips, then maybe something like a little bolster or even something like a block to prop underneath you is supportive. But as we come to the mat, we always begin a class with pranayama. And the main reason for this is because we use pranayama to bring us to the mat, to allow us to be very present. And it gives us an opportunity just to settle in, to connect with our breathing, and to set the tone, to set the breath, rhythm and pattern for the rest of class. So when you're ready, just begin to allow the slowness of the breath to come as we draw each breath in and out through your nose. So really slow, really steady. Just noticing that our inhalation is there to fully fill the lungs. So we want to notice this expansiveness that comes on the inhalation, where the chest expands, where the lungs press into the ribs, and perhaps where the belly rises. And on the exhalation, when we let go or where we empty all of the breath, again, be mindful that all of the breath is released from the lungs. So full breath in and a complete breath going out. So filling to full capacity on the inhalation and emptying down to that last drop on the exhale. And then begin to notice not just the slowness of each breath, but perhaps how smooth and steady the breath can be. The breath is really delicate, so there's no force with the breath. Sometimes we can notice force towards the end of a breath, and it's not usually intentional, but it could just be because we're being super conscientious to get full inhalation or your complete exhalation. So we notice that there's fullness and emptiness, but without any strain. Just noticing from here with each of the breaths that your inhalation and your exhalation are equal. They are exactly the same length. And when you're ready to start to just keep the rhythm of that breath, the melody of the breath, but just to bring your awareness back by inviting in a small amount of movement, maybe through the fingers and toes. And if we are, and obviously it's starting to adjust the eyes back to the light of your room, if you are lying down, take a moment to prepare to come up into sitting. We'll start in seated. We call this Sukhasana, seated, cross-legged pose, Sukhasana. If you find that this is a really hard pose to be in, perhaps via the hips, then you can always prop up by either using something like a bolster or even a blanket is handy. Sometimes even just rolling your mat up a couple of times and sitting on the back end of the mat can do it for you. Particularly if you sit here and thinking, you know what, this is me trying to, get to the floor. This is because the pelvis is tilted back, but when we sit up higher, the pelvis can actually tip forward, and it can make it feel a little bit more achievable. And it can take the ouch out for some people, the pinch that often sits into the hips. When you're ready to come through to the front, just bring the tips of the fingers or the pads of the fingers towards the floor. And anytime that you're ready to start to creep and walk the fingers forward, take your time. And just notice that we're folding at the hips. So we want to almost imagine that there's this imaginary line across our hips, and we're folding at that crease line. When you're ready on the exhale, take a walk around towards your right hand side. Just take the hands, walk around, allow the chest to get a little closer to that right thigh. And in doing so, still be quite conscious and very mindful that your left sit bone is still attached down to the floor. So when we come around, we don't allow it to sort of rise up off the mat. Glue that left sit bone back down. Walk the hands back through to the center on the inhale, and then back in towards you, so that we can switch the legs around. So when we change the legs, we change the emphasis on the hip. We come back down through the front, little pads of the fingers, a little forward or that hinge forward, creep through to the front here. Letting go of the head, relaxing the neck. And then the walk will go around to the left on this side, all the way around to the side. Breathe in, walk back to the center. Hands will come back in, trunk will lift back up. Take the left hand to sit onto your right knee and bring your right hand straight around behind the back of you. Keep the spine tall, so keep lifted, so you don't collapse the back. And then use the hands just to navigate you around towards this right side here. Just twist and spin. And we're going to lay the left hand onto the thigh or onto the knee. If you can, release the right arm around behind your back, perhaps catching the inside of the left leg. Don't worry if you can't catch the inside of the leg, it takes a little bit of mobility into the shoulder. But even by bringing this arm around behind the back, we get to open up the chest, and we explore stretching out across the pecs just a fraction more. And then as we inhale and we unravel out of that spin, take the right hand down onto the mat, take the left hand up, and then just slide the right arm out as the left arm comes nice and snug near the ear. So gliding the arm right out, sitting down on the left sit zone, so watch that we don't sort of flip up off that left glute. And the left arm's long and quite close, attached to the ear. Breathe in, release, back up. Just do a little switch of those legs again, so we're not always dominating the same leg in front, and giving each hip that opportunity to release. The right hand holds the left knee now, and the left hand comes behind us. Again, lift from the crown of the head before you start to twist, because otherwise usually we start with a collapsed spine. We sort of think of the spine being like a conduit of energy, that the breath, and obviously the spine is, we're obviously a big nerve base, so we want to make sure that blood can flow nice and clean and fresh up through a very long, erect spine, rather than having to sort of get through kinks. Let the left arm wrap around the back. Use that to draw the left elbow and the left shoulder back. As we unravel, the left hand gets to slide out towards the left. That right arm comes up and over and into the side of the right ear, reaching towards the short edge of the mat here, to the side of your mat. And when we're ready for the breath in, we get to draw and lift back up. Bring the soles of your feet together here into what we know as, we call this Baddha Konasana, or it's translated to cobbler's pose. Sometimes we call it butterfly, because when we teach it with the kids, they're like little butterfly wings. But the idea here is to open up through the pelvis, so that junction between the hips and the legs, or the pelvis and the legs here. Lift through the chest on this one. Sometimes, again, we collapse. So if you sort of feel like you can sort of lift up from the crown of the head and sort of let the chest sort of puff forward. It sits us higher and deeper up onto the sit bones as well. Then the knees want to feel as though they can draw out to the edges of your mat, to the sides of your mat. And then we just let gravity take its sort of roll, and sort of weight the legs downwards, down towards the floor, so almost like there's a magnet of force, just drawing the legs down. If you feel like there's some room to explore the stretch a little deeper, then we start to hinge, just like we did in the cross-legged forward fold. You'll notice that as we literally just bend at the waist, so rather than rounding the back, we keep the spine still long and straight. And we just, so I'm trying to get my chest closer down towards the feet here. Inhale as we ease back up. Send the legs out to a big wide V. This is another one where we tend to do this little drop back into the sit bones. I like to start this one by bringing the hands behind us, instead of just literally like rolling or pushing us forward. So rather than sitting on the back of the sit bones and sitting out here, then the hands coming behind us and rolls us right on top of those little bony parts of the sit bones from here. Then we get to bring the hands through the front. Now this is a little stronger than the butterfly one. You'll probably already start to feel it, even if you sort of sit up and sort of puff your chest forward, then you might already begin to notice that stretch from the back of the knee towards the groin. And as you start to explore that forward fold, it gets stronger and stronger as you come down through the front. Doesn't mean that you have to come through the front, but if you want to start to notice that stretch deepen, inflection will make it so. One of those poses that we tend to dwell on for a while, because the initial sort of stages of this is almost an element of shock. Like, oh, that's really strong. So as we give ourselves time and we breathe our way through it, these guys start to give in a little bit. Okay, they start to soften a fraction. And you'll notice that because maybe now you can get your whole hand on the floor, or So now you go forearms. You'll start to notice as you progress with your breathing and your patience is sitting in the pose, the back starts to release, the inner legs start to soften. And then we get that same walk around towards the right. You might notice here that the right hand jumps over the right side of the legs. We've got left hand on the inside of the leg, right hand on the outside. Use it to twist the chest, because what we're trying to focus on here is our chest to the thigh. We can probably even feel how that left sort of sit bone wants to lift off. We're really mindful here of making sure that it stays attached to the floor, to your mat. Back through to the centre, and that same chest to thigh as we swing round to the left, hands either side of the left leg, rotate, again lowering chest towards the leg, but mindful of it's going to be the right side that wants to lift up off the mat here. And when we take that next breath in, these hands come with us back to centre. I'm going to walk on in. I'm very sorry, that trunk will lift up. I'm going to suggest that we help the legs come back in just so we don't strain the groin. And when the legs come back in, place the soles of the feet onto the floor. We're going to cross the left leg all the way over the right leg like you're sitting in a chair. Bring your hands behind you so again that we don't, because this might want to push us out the back. So the hands behind us to sit up, and then just drop the two knees over. Your left leg's going to drag your right knee down to the floor. Sit up a little taller when you're ready, because sometimes we start out here and that's okay. But you'll notice the difference that as we pull right up to sit, usually the knee will go down, but it's going to be hard to get the bum down. So we try to, inevitably it doesn't go down, but you want to almost imagine that, that magnetic force of trying to pull your bottom cheek down towards the floor. Cross left over right, and pull your knee. You got it. Keep pulling down that way. You got it. I think you might have been trying to pull in the wrong way. You might have been trying to pull that way. Yeah. So knees are going down to the floor. We're trying to roll perhaps the bottom down to the floor, but now we're also going to add a bit of a twist. So just to use your little fingers behind you to try and just turn your shoulders. You're going to rotate around. So you're going to go around towards where the feet are. So you're going to twist towards your feet. And then we let the twist unravel. We come back through, and then we slide the ankle onto the knee. Okay, so what we know is figure four. So again, back into these hips. Again, you'll start to feel how you're sitting out the back here, but that's okay. When we bring the hands through to hold onto the shin, we jump the foot in a couple of steps, and then we use these hands to bring us in. So chest to thigh, we're pulling the chest in towards the thigh. And obviously the knee is staying out and away from us. So we do this when we lie on our backs. This is just the seated version, the seated variation of it. That's a good one to open up the hip on this leg, this outer leg. And then we're going to slide that leg long. We're going to bring the sole of the foot into the inside of the thigh. Rise on the inhale. Lead with the chest as we exhale, come forward and over that thigh. So the left leg's heavy, and let that thigh sort of float down towards the floor. And again, it's not head to knee. It's chest to thigh. And just use the hands, wherever you might be able to hold on to, we just use them to draw us in and down towards the leg, the chest to the thigh. When we inhale, let the trunk draw and lift up. This left leg, jump it over your long right leg. So beneath it means you hug it. Right arm grabs the leg. Again, we want to watch that we haven't dropped into the hips. So lifting tall up and out of the hips, and we're twisting around towards this, the back, like we're looking down towards that back end of the mat. Keep that leg in nice and tight towards you. And then keep lifting super tall. So you don't feel this stretch when you let yourself sink into your hips. You feel the stretch deep into the bottom when you glue the bottom down into your mat, but then you pull up tall, you pull up and away from it, twisting as you go. Come out of the twist as you breathe in. Let the foot come back and return onto the inside of the leg. So we're going to drop this knee down towards the floor, bring the left hand behind you, and then we do like this little, almost like a side, kneeling side plank. It's a variation on what we call wild thing. That right arm comes over into your ear and you press both the hips. Press both the hips forward. Take the arm then straight to the ceiling, and you're going to thread through. Your right arm's going to thread here underneath that left arm, and then you'll inhale and you'll open up that arm towards the ceiling. So it's a thread on the exhale, so tucking the arm under the right arm, under the left arm, and then inhale, you get to open it up, and then exhale, you'll do the same again. Thread and tuck under. Good. Inhale, open it up. And then one more. Exhale, thread. And inhale to open. Good. Lower the hip down to the floor, and you should be able to spiral all the way back around to something like that. And then just do a quick change. So your left leg becomes your long leg. Do that hamstring switch again here. Inhale, and then lead with the chest as you breathe it out, holding on to the leg so that you can be drawn deeper down in towards the thigh here. Use the breath in to come back up. Jumping the leg over, so right goes over the left. Hug it in. Watch that you're not dropping into the hips. So lift really tall, like there's a string in the crown of your hand pulling you to the ceiling. The right hand sits behind as we go into that rotation, breathing out. Inhale, come out of the twist. Foot back into the inside of the thigh. That hand stays there behind us. We lift up and go into that kneeling side plank. Reach out through that left arm. We're going to keep it nice and snug into the ear. It'll give us some side stretch, some lateral stretch here. And then take the arm back up to the roof, ready for the threading action. So breathe out. So thread the left under the right. So it's like thread the needle, and then inhale, open. Exhale, thread it under. And inhale. One last one. Perfect. So from here, find down dog. Just bring your left hand back over onto the mat, right hand onto the mat, spin it on around. You should be facing the short edge of your mat here. It doesn't matter if you're facing front, back, or otherwise.
We're just fully lengthened onto the mat here. Where we want to soften the head, so we want to relax the head between the arms. Let the heels go heavy, let them draw down towards the floor. We want to send the sit bones high and up and towards the ceiling here. Lead with your left leg behind you into what we know as that three-legged down dog. And breathe out there and draw the left knee into your belly. Come and step forward to the front part of the mat. We're going to keep the right heel onto the mat and keep the right leg long and straight. And what we know is we call this a low lunge. Low lunge means that the hips are a little bit lower than the knees, so it's not like a warrior. You can always use your hands on your blocks if you want a little bit of extra support here. So right heel presses away from you, the left knee reaches forward almost like it's trying to clear or reach over your ankle. And as we press back through that right heel, we'll start to feel when those hips are super low, we'll start to feel how that hip flexor starts to get a little bit more depth into the stretching. Good. Then bend the right knee and place it all the way down to the floor. Curl on up so that you're fully stacked. So you've got, I call this square kneeling. It means that your left knee is over your left ankle. Yep, and you've got another square behind the back knee. Take your right hand to the outside of that knee. Take your left hand onto it. Go into a twist for me. So you're turning around this left hand side. Keep the twist, but just bring your hands to prayer. And then drop onto that thigh. Let your left elbow or left elbow behind your right elbow rest onto the leg now. If you can, we're going to straighten out that back leg once again. That back right leg unfolds here. You don't have to, you can leave it bent. Breathe out, bring your two hands to the floor or onto your blocks, and then unfold that left leg. It's now a little straighter. See if we can gently draw that left hip back as though it's trying to pull back to the end of your mat here. And breathing then back into the left knee. So you're back into that nice low lunge again. Bring the left hand on the inside of the left leg and open the right arm upwards towards the ceiling. So we call this side angle pause. Then breathe out, bring the two hands back either side of the foot. See if you can switch it to the other side. Leave your right hand on the floor onto your block and then send the left arm up. So your twist went the other way now. Then breathe out, bring the two hands back to the floor either side of the foot. Step your way back into down dog. Walk that left leg out. Give yourself a little sort of walking action where we get some blood sort of pumping back into the legs here. Heel up, heel down. Let each heel equally weight down towards the floor for me here. Good. Look forward to where the hands are. We're going to step there again with the left leg. Though this time I want us to keep coming up, so bring the right leg to join it. Yeah, and when you're ready, we're going to rise. The arms will come up. Yep, we're all the way up into standing. Breathe out, coming to forward fold. So let the head go heavy. I'm going to look at the thighs, send the sit bones up towards the ceiling. Now, waddle the feet out to the edges of your mat. See if you can take a little squat here. We call this malasana. Now, it can be propped up here, so some people might be, well, I can sit here, but I need a little bit of extra help, so I might rise here with my block. Some people might need to stay up onto the tippy toes, and that's okay as well. So it's a little tough on the calves and the Achilles if they're tight for you. This is where I know a lot of people will feel it. And for some people, if this is quite a deep knee flexion, it's a really nice squat action for the pelvis. And it's a really nice way to lengthen through the lower part of the back. Okay, because you can feel how there's this natural sort of drop and tuck that comes in the lower part of the back here. Leave the left hand onto the floor. So you'll see that the arm's pressing into the leg. The hand doesn't have to face forward and go on a slight sort of diagonal. And then open the right arm up. So sort of the right arm will come out on a bit of a diagonal. Yep. And then that right hand will go and arm will go down to the floor so that the left arm can go out on the diagonal. Do it again, one more on each of the sides. So hand balances this as the other arm unfolds and opens. And then on the other side, hand on and open it out here. And both hands coming back onto the floor for me here. Use the arms to sort of pry open the legs. And then we're going to use our thighs, so we're going to need to press through the legs here. Bring your hands back to prayer. Push so you can come up to stand. Press, 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 drive through the legs. The arms will rise up. And breathe out, bring the arms around, back by the sides. Okay, just square the feet up, so you're just good as have the feet back, pointing forward from here. Come balance into tree pose. The right leg's on the floor, left foot sits onto the inside of the leg here. Keep your gaze steady. And then go ankle at the knee, just like we did when we were sitting, and start to take more of a seat now. Release the left leg out the back. Keep that right leg bent, and that's protecting the knee and that upper hamstring. And then hands to the floor, step now back into down dog. Where once again you get to take that little walk out of the legs. Just that opportunity to flush the blood back up and into those legs. You'll transition on the inhale when you're ready. The legs will stop to a plank pose, just slowly rolling the shoulders over the wrists here, drawing up and into the belly. Keeping the breast steady. Keeping both armpits pulling away from the floor so you're not driving the weight through the hands, but you're using your core. And then lower the knees down to the floor. Hold that into knee plank here. Now sit back into high child's. So don't let your bum and your heels touch, just keep the arms in the same position. What you've done is you've hinged back. Let your chest fall between the arms and try and keep your bum off your heels. Back into down dog when you're ready. Send the right leg behind on the inhale. Bring the knee to the chest. Step through to that low lunge once again. Knee over the ankle. See if we can soften the hips down low. Down below the arm. Below the knee so we can find that stretch into the hips. Good. Return the leg to straighten. Chest towards the thigh. Sending that right bottom shingle, right hip back towards the wall. This will stop the hips from wanting to spin out to the side. But it'll also stop the hips from wanting to hike. And breathe out back into that right knee we bend. The right hand comes on the inside of the leg and the left arm gradually unravels. And breathe out. The left hand goes back onto the floor, and the right arm does the same. It too unravels up. Breathe out, bringing the two hands back down there onto the mat. Step your way back into down dog. Take that chance to, have that legs. Equally weight the two legs back down to the floor, then feel heavy. Back to the right leg leading into inhale, knee to chest. Once again we step forward, then we lower the left knee down to the floor, and as we come up we're into that square kneeling. Try and use your core to keep it steady. Left hand to the right knee, right hand to the hip. This is where we spin. Hands meet us at prayer, and that's when we drop over. Left elbow over the thigh. here, or we can keep that toe tucked under in the back left leg and push through the thigh and come and straighten out that leg. So we have a straight left leg. Good. Breathe out, bring the hands back onto the floor. Step back into end dog. Come to plank as we breathe in. Hold that plank. Breathe out, knee. So it's a knee plank now. Nothing changed, that core still pulling in tight. Then we stand high child's. Chest comes towards the thighs. Hips stay high. And as we leave the arms in the same position and the legs, all we want to do is try and lift the kneecaps up off the floor. So we want to try and not shift forward. This is going to be the challenge in here. So spread the fingers, press through them. Lift with your quads up off the floor without trying to let your shoulders shift forward. Okay, there's this temptation to want to shift your shoulders forward. So once again, look at the hand, step forward onto that right leg. And then the left leg joins it. Rise on the inhale. Hands to heart on the exhale. Let's find tree balance on the left foot. So your right foot comes into the inside leg. Change it to ankle and knee. And as you do, that's when we can start to squat into it. Maybe that right elbow rests onto the leg, onto the thigh. Keep the squat in the left leg, drive the right leg out the back. This is that balance kind of, it's like a warrior three, but with a very bent left leg. Then step that guy back onto your mat. Yeah, so you're back to that low lunge again. Hands to the floor, flying down dog. We're going to take another plank on the inhale. Down to the knees though, and then drop down onto your forearms. So this is going to take us into dolphin pose, which is basically a bent arm version of down facing dog. The hands still stay spread. These arms are parallel to each other. So what can happen in this is with the shoulders is that the arms start to come in and the hands want to go on top of each other. Okay? So we're going to try and challenge the shoulders by making sure that our arms are running parallel to the edges of the mat. And then you lift your legs up off. Now it's a tougher version on the shoulders, absolutely. However, it takes a lot of the work out of the hands and the shoulders that sometimes get driven through when we go into down dog. So you can see your hands free. Come up high into the balls of the fence. See if you can shift the dolphin forward. Shift your weight a little forward. And then shift it back. Continue to walk back. And you're going to start to notice yourself in a forearm plank. If you need to go to your knees, that's okay. Otherwise, a little forearm plank here where, same idea as normal plank, elbows and shoulders are over each other. Belly's pulling up and in and away from that. Breathe out, drop the knees down. Quick stretch back into child's. Palms together, hands float over the back of the head. We'll just give those triceps a little bit of a stretch out here. Release the arms back in front. Lift the elbows up off the floor. So we've probably got like a soft version of child's pose. An active version is where the arms are straight and the elbows are up off the floor. And then breathe in, try and pull yourself up into full kneeling. Okay, so using your core, we pull on up here. Right hand's going to sit into your lower part of your back. Okay, your hands is cupping the lumbar and your fingers are pointing down towards your bottom. So your left arm can rise up here. Tuck both feet under, so you're going to go toes under. It's going to send us into camel pose. This is an extension, so what we want to do here is feel like we're going to lift up towards the ceiling, and there's a big gym ball in our back that we curl over. And then breathe out, left hand goes onto the back. And an inhale. And you're already up and over on the other side. So my left hand's trying to drag my lower back down, so it's telling it not to be compressed, but to have some length to it. Good. And then breathe out, return back down. Good. Step the left leg forward. And take the right arm up. Good. And then, like you're going to do a backstroke. Backstroke the hand around towards the heel. And then send the left arm up towards the center. So this is like a half camel, but with a little bit of a twist and some back extension with it. So you can either be looking down at the floor, your choice, or you could look upwards towards this left hand. Breathe out, windmill to the arms down towards the floor. And then just hinge back for me now, pull the toes back. Your heels are things on the floor now, so it's like a Hanuman. Hinge back forward, let the left knee glide over the left ankle, and the left arm rests onto the left thigh as you go into crescent and then the right arm floats up. So we should feel a bit of a stretch running down the front of this right thigh. Collect the right wrist with your left hand, grab it, and then pull it over towards your left hand side. So it's a side bend that goes with this. Come back to square. Put your right hand onto the floor and then lean over to this right, this left arm. So watch the left leg doesn't collapse and roll in on you. So that left knee and the left hip is still staying in alignment. This left arm reaches over. And breathe out. Bring the hands back down to the floor. Step the left leg back. Drop down into your dolphin pose again. Forearms are on, hips are high. Relax the head between the arms. As we inhale, tip your toes and shift your weight forward. Head's going towards the hands. And then exhale, shift your weight back. Inhale, walk off the mat. Hips could drop. Good. Shoulders are over those elbows, bellies are up. Lower the knees and slide back into child's pose, palms together, and then we get to do that little camel on the other side. It's like your fingertips are being pulled down to your tailbone. Release the arms back out there in front, high arms, which means elbows off the floor. And then through your legs, inhale, come up into kneeling. Let's go and take that right leg forward. Left foot tucks under. Left arm reaches up. And then like a backstroke movement around towards the heel, the left heel. And then the right arm gets to reach up. So again, you either look at the right hand or you look down to the floor towards your left heel. Windmill the arms down towards the floor. Hinge back, toes go up, and this heel glues itself down in towards the floor. So we pull the right hip back towards the back end of our mat. Back to the foot planting onto the floor, crescent moon. We'll start with the prep version where we notice how the left shin bone presses down into the mat and pull the left hip forward. It would be the right hand coming onto the thigh as the left arm rises up. Then we use the right hand to collect the left wrist. Pull on the left wrist as we lean right. So we open up through this left side of the body. Come back to center on the inhale. Left hand goes to the floor. Then the right arm comes over out near our ear, keeping that right knee tracking in line with the right hip. Really conscious here of not rolling, letting that knee roll in.
Then breathe out. Bring the hands back either side of the foot. Toes will turn under. Return to down dog here. Bring the left foot into the middle, like more towards your midline. Okay. And take your right foot, and your big toe is going to pull down on the heel of this left leg. So like the big toe drags the heel down. This will deepen the calf stretch in that left leg. Good, both feet back on. And where your left foot was is where your right foot would go. Big toe plugs into the back of the heel. And pull it down. Just take your time with that, slow with the breath. Good, both feet back, equal hip distance apart, so back to where they were originally. Good. Left leg leads behind you. And bring the knee in and step forward once again to the front part of the mat. Let's go to easy chair where the 2 feet come together and we stay in that nice low squat. Hands press into one another and the elbows at the same height as the wrists. Keep the chest lifted. There's this temptation here to bow forward, so keep the chest lifted nice and high. And then add higher arms. If you can, the arms are parallel. And then from here, just now you can bow forward a little bit more. So it's like a half, so my chest is sort of more parallel to the floor now. And then come back and straighten up. Inhale, straighten the back more, okay? My legs don't move here, okay? So all I'm doing is hinging from my hips and come back, fold forward. Okay? Legs have never moved. Yeah? And then inhale, just lift the chest. A little hard in the legs. Okay? Exhale, fold over. Here's your last one. Inhale, open up. Good. Exhale, fingertips to the floor. Good, step on back. Doesn't matter what leg you choose. And breathe in, find plank. Breathe out, take your plank down to the floor. And when you're ready, 1 cobra as you inhale. Keep the gaze low. Take the hands off the floor. And then breathe out, put the hands back onto the floor. Breathe in, lift the cobra a little higher if you can. And breathe out, take a look around towards your back left foot. So you're looking right down to the end of your mat. Good. And then inhale and come back. Just exhale, look down to the left end of the mat. Breathe in, come back, square on it. And breathe out, no hands here. Hands are off. Breathe out, soften the hands back down to the floor. And breathe in, lift higher into that cobra. Breathe out, push up and press back. Find child's pose. And then inhale, let the chest come lift up off these legs. We're going to drop ourselves around to sitting, so just flick the legs out to one side so you can bring yourself into a seated position back here onto the mat. Walk the legs back in together on this one. Keep a length of the spine. Hinge back away from the legs. You know, so just sort of pulling back. We haven't rounded or collapsed the spine. So we've got this nice long length to the spine. It's going to take us into Navasana, the boat pose. Out go the arms if you can. If you need to hold on to the legs, do. But as with the arms lengthen out, we have to sort of draw a bit deeper into the belly, and we have to go back and use these inner thigh muscles. Pull them in. Okay? Pull the inner groin muscles in together. Drop down through the shoulders. Okay, so we're going to also watch this one. Sometimes we get a little bit conscious and we try poking the chin forward. So maybe even just consciously draw the chin back. This is a good strengthening exercise for the neck muscles.
Come draw those toes up off the floor. And just let the right leg lift. And then tap it back down, then the left leg. And you can alternate from leg to leg, up and down. And watch the spine doesn't collapse on you. And that's all about using the belly. Now stay with the legs, but add higher arms. Back to arms out in front. Toes all the way off into half bow. Control the way down to the floor. Just be mindful of your space behind you. And as you get right down to your mat, bring your knees into your knee. Maybe a little rock side to side. Good. And then holding onto the knees, keeping them together, draw some circles. Good, change direction when you're ready. Return the knees back here into the center and lowering the soles of the feet down towards the floor. Go into that lying version of butterfly pose now where the knees draw down, the soles of the feet draw together. Breathing in, letting the knees draw back to in towards one another. Take the left leg, cross it over the right. You'll recall all of these. We did these sitting. And the knees will draw down to the left side. And then breathe in, come back to center. Slide the right leg long, bring the left knee into your chest. Take your right hand to the outside of the knee, roll it across the body. Look over to the left. Bring the head back to the center. Collect the leg with your left hand. Your right arm will anchor you out to the side. The left knee will go out to your left hand side. Look over your right. Look down to your right hand. Head and knee come back to the center. Switch the legs. Right leg comes in. Left hand draws it across you, look out to your right. Head comes back, knee comes back. Hand, right hand holds the knee, goes out to your side, left arm goes out to the left hand side, you look left. Head comes back, knee comes back, left leg slides in, right leg crosses over the top of it, and both knees pull down to your right side. slowly back to the centre. Uncross the legs, slide the legs along and prepare for Shavasana when you're ready. Noticing the slowness that comes to each of the breaths here. Breath coming in through the nose, out through the nose. Observing the smooth, steady, even breath as well. Perhaps a slowing down of the heartbeat, a softening of the muscles, that sense of letting go. And this calmness that comes as the nervous system begins to settle. And each of the outward breaths finds the body melting and sinking into the mat with all the tension releasing. Muscles letting go, and the body softening. With the sound of the meditation bowls, our awareness can gradually come back here. Perhaps a gentle movement through the fingers and the toes. And take time as you roll over so that you can rest and be on your side. We use our hands to bring our way up into sitting. We'll come and meet the hands at the heart center. And it's here that we get to honor our practice and show gratitude by finishing class together with Namaste. Namaste. Namaste.
Saturday morning yoga.
Thank you.
Tick, tick, tick.
Thank you. Enjoy. The sun looks like it's trying to come out for us.
It does.
It is actually, I can see the sun.